Karonga, yes. Utali. Now you are the one that reminds us. Oh. I thought maybe you were running away from the presentation.
I was just there.
Okay. No, you wanted to take your break.
Yeah.
Good. Good. Last time we had learned about throughput accounting. And then today we are going to learn about decision-making techniques. Decision-making techniques. Decision-making techniques. Decision-making techniques. We just want to understand about some techniques that are used in decision-making when you are doing management accounting. Maybe decision-making, that's fine. How about technique? What is a technique? Technique? Some ways. Augustus?
Some sort of ways.
Okay, ways.
They're mostly used to execute
Okay. Okay. Technique, it's a way, it's maybe a principle or regulation or something that you're supposed to follow to make something happen. So here we just want to understand some techniques that us as the management accountants have to use when we are talking about decision making. You know, in accounting, mostly we base on these techniques when we want to make a decision. You cannot just make a decision without basing on something that you are doing. So always you base on a technique or a principle or something when you want to make a decision. So today we will have the first decision technique, which is what? Linear programming, is it? According to the linear programming. What is linear programming, or what is linear? Linear? What is linear? Or linear programming as a whole? Linear programming and shadow pricing. Linear programming and shadow pricing. So take one of the techniques that we are going to start is linear programming and shadow pricing. Linear programming and shadow pricing. So we're saying, what is linear programming? We don't know linear programming. We have ever learned about this when we were doing, yes, when we were doing our mathematics in connection of what?
qualities.
Inequalities, something that I'm waiting for. when we're talking about what? Linear programming? How about graphs?
Yeah, graphs, yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, graphs, when we're talking about graphs. When we're talking about linear programming, we should be thinking about x-axis and y-axis. You remember those? Yes, this is what we are talking about when we're talking about linear programming. So when we're talking about linear programming, we should always think about the x and y axis, which we use when we're making graphs, where we can remember that the graphs can make managers to make a decision. You remember that? Because let's say somebody is studying on, in fact, this is what you are supposed to be doing now. I don't know, in year what now? 4 or year 3. Shortly, you are going to be talking about the dissertation, where you are going to be using some of these methods to make a decision on what you have found out in your dissertation. So linear programming, in fact, historically, it was developed by during the World War II by somebody. His name is I think it's a German name, George Dantzig. John Dantzig. He is the one that developed the linear programming sometime in the Second World War, where he was looking into it as a system with which is to maximize efficiency. Maximizing efficiency of the resources. Maximizing of the resources. This is historical, according to Dantzig. He saw this as the maximizing efficiency of resources. So should be efficiency of resources. That's what Dantzig saw in linear programming that time when it was late, if not middle 40s, because Second World War, 1940 something, I think. Then he also saw that it was very important to use this method because to him it was very important to spread resources depending on the projects. So spreading of resources in different projects. That time, that's what Dantzig saw. And he used the programming when he was doing military issues or military activities, where he was planning schedules of efficiency and also deploying these military men. So who started it is Dantzig sometime in the Second World War, and not only that, he used this for efficiency in schedules that he was using in the military activities. So that's where we had taken the technique that it should be used in the management accounting. After that, it was now taken by economists as well as mathematicians that it should be developed in their applications of accounting. So the one that started is the Dantzig, according to the history of linear programming. So now, what is linear programming in definition? So linear programming is a technique of solving problems of profit maximization. Linear programming is a technique for solving problems It is a technique of solving problems It is a technique of solving problems of profit maximization, or for profit maximization. Profit maximization. Again, for cost minimization. Cost minimization. So when we're talking about linear programming, we should not forget mentioning that. And again, for resource allocation. The third one is for resource allocation. So those three are very important when we want to describe linear programming according to Dantzig. Of course, that time when Dantzig was doing it, said that no need of having computers. But this time we know when we can be talking about graphs, we use computers, isn't it? Yes, we're not talking about Excel. Yeah, so that time he said no need of using computers, but this time it's easy linear programming by using computers. So we just have to see linear programming in connection of mathematics or mathematical. So linear programming is a very powerful technique in mathematical issues that can be applied to the problem of rationing limiting factors and resources among many alternative uses in such a way that the optimum benefits can be derived from their utilization. What are we talking about? We are talking about how is it good or how is it powerful in mathematics. We should always think about problem solving. In fact, if I can take you back to the linear programming that maybe we learned sometime, I can maybe take you back to say we could we could think about a thing like that. Let's say that. Okay. Let's just imagine of, let's say, a graph of population. Okay. Maybe in the 19 let's say 80s or 90s, 1990s, the population of Malawi was as big as that. Maybe it was 4 million, or maybe that ndakulisa 2 million, just to imagine. Okay. Then in the 20s, now we can see that maybe it grew up to maybe 4. I don't know now how many we are. I'm just imagining. Maybe maybe we can say this 80s, this 90s, then 20s. Now we can say that it's maybe even higher than ever. Okay, maybe we can say 10 million, just to imagine. There, according to the graph, just to take you in mathematics, according to the graph, it means you can express something to say in 1980s the population was less than this time. Okay, therefore a decision can be made to those people that are dealing with the statistics of, let's say, individuals or people in the country. They can make a decision. I remember the other time somebody was saying, they don't want big people this time. If you go to the hospital, they will finish you up. But those are just rumors. But why am I saying that? I'm saying that maybe they can see that the population is too big. As a result, we have to trim it. Okay, so a decision can be made to say, what should we do for the population not to grow? Maybe we can think of those terms that they are saying, when people get married, they should not just start bearing children, but they should go to the hospital for birth controls. A man and a woman both should go and to the hospital and say, no, now we don't want children, or now we want one child. Why? That's a decision made out of what they saw on linear programming, that things are not normal. We are supposed to trim, or we are supposed to go down, basing on what they are seeing, that there's a danger in front. So this is just for an expression for us to understand that linear program indeed is very, very important in connection of decision making for somebody who is doing accounts. That was a statistical, let's say, understanding. But if we can think about mathematics, we can also think about one to say, yes, you can make a decision in connection of mathematics in this way. So linear programming is very, very important to us as the management accountants. Again, it seeks to find the feasible combination of outputs that will maximize or minimize combination, or minimize the objective function. Sometimes we can have, maybe we have ever seen graphs that can be like that, to say the other one is straight like that, the other one is from there, but dotted like that. Okay, it means these are two maybe inputs or two products. If we can think of us as management accountant, two products, then you can express to say, okay, which product or which item should we produce if this is the graph for, let's say, tomato sauce, tomato sauce, and then that tomato puree. They are all the same, but they are different maybe in how they look or whatever. Then you see that, okay, a decision can be made. Which one should we produce more than the other? Because you have seen that maybe people like tomato puree than tomato sauce. So, or whatever you can think about in comparison, this is what they're telling us to say. When we're talking about linear programming, we can also use maybe something to do with more than one product when we want to make a decision. So, linear programming is that, but again, we are also told about shadow pricing. Shadow pricing. What do you think can be shadow pricing? What do you think can be shadow pricing? Shadow pricing? Just the name itself can express. Everybody of you, when you go outside there is a sun, you have a shadow. And even if when you look outside there is a shadow for that building, there's a shadow for that tree. What is a shadow? What is shadow pricing? Maybe I should remind you that way. What is shadow pricing? I'm rubbing, I want to put something. What is shadow? Then you relate it with prices, just to make you think about that. Shadow. In normal way, what is a shadow? A shadow, a normal shadow that you know. Augustus, you are laughing. What is a shadow?
Okay, the reason I'm laughing is we see these things, but I've never had the chance to actually know them pretty. What can I say? This is. Alright, so I might answer just.
Yes, in normal understanding of a shadow. That's what I want. Not in whatever we want to rent, but I just want.
In that context, not in a normal circumstance. Like in that context, I would think of it as a dual value. Like sort of marginal variable or something. Okay? So this can be a concept in linear programming that helps present a value of an additional unit of resource.
Good. You read already, is it?
No.
Great. That's intelligence. Good. So shadow. Shadow is a representation of Sam when he stands outside. Your shadow is a representation. But is it yourself? So this is exactly. When we're thinking or when we're talking about shadow pricing, it's exactly what Augustus has said. Imagining of something additional, then you put a price. So this is what they're saying, linear programming and shadow pricing. So here I just want you to, we should write a small understanding of linear programming. So they are saying linear programming linear programming. Then after linear programming, we have 4 others. And one word is LP. Okay, so we have branches when we're talking about linear program. Then we have something to do with the principles of LP. Principles. Then after principles, we have formulating problems. Formulating problems. Formulating problems. Then we have slack and surprises. Slack and surprises. Then we have shadow pricing. Then when we are formulating problems, we have 7 steps in LP. In LP, then in the formulation of the 7 steps, we have maximization and minimization problem. So below the steps, we have that, and then maximization of problem, and then minimization. You know, when you are doing presentation, electricity is not wanted because you want to see light. But when we are doing these normal writings, electricity is very much wanted. So what are they telling us? They are telling us that linear programming, when we want to use linear programming, we should not exclude the principles of linear programming. And not only that, we should formulate a problem ourselves when we're thinking about linear programming, because we are thinking of how we're going to do it. Imagine, Augustus told us that it's an imagination. It means you are not yet there. You think about what you should do. So you are supposed to think about what problems can I meet as I'm going to do that. So that's why they are saying formulating problems. We, as the management accountants, have to formulate problems in connection with what we want to do, so that we should know how we can divert in connection of minimization of resources and maximization of profit. So what are we saying? We're saying that then we should also think about the surprise. Slack, we're going to see it in as we're going to go, and then shadow pricing also very important for us to imagine of what we are going to do if we add more of what we are going to do. So this is just a simple understanding of linear programming according to what Dantzig said. So us as accountants, what are we saying? We're saying then that linear programming is a problem-solving approach. The problem you formulate yourself, and then it's a problem-solving approach. So that is what we are saying, that linear programming, then it's a problem-solving approach that has been developed to help managers to make decisions. So in addition of what we wrote, we should also write that it is a problem-solving approach that has been developed to help managers make a decision. So linear programming is a mathematical technique, as we have already said, for determining the optimum allocation of resources. Mind you, when you are thinking about doing something maybe in connection of making a profit, you should also allocate resources. How are you going to do that? You cannot just think about doing something without allocation of resources. That is impossible in management accounting. You should also think about how much is it needed for us to do that. Okay, so allocation of resources again is also very, very important for us to obtain the objective of what we want to do. So when we're talking about linear programming, we also have its nature. The nature of linear programming, we have two. We should have product mix problems. Product mix problems, again blending problem. Product mix problem and blending problem. So always,
That's number 2.
that is the nature of the linear programming. Nature. There are only two that shows the nature of programming. One, when you are talking about the product mix. Again, when we are talking about blending problems. What is blending? What is blending? Sam? Blending. Mfuna bugugule. Blending. Blending. Blending is mixing. Yes. I think maybe because we are women, we know, we understand blending. Yeah. Huh? When we can maybe mixing, when we're cooking, when maybe we're mixing, maybe we're baking and so on. Those are words that are used. So it's maybe the same in other ways. Product mix. It means we are talking about more than two products, isn't it? Yes, product mix. This you have learned in your marketing, if ever you have learned marketing, product mix. And again, blending problems. So these are the problems that normally you as managers think about. We want to, let's say, produce these products, okay? 3 of them or 4 of them. We want to prove, or we want to see that which one will be best if maybe we make a bit of innovation of it. So this is how we do it when we're saying we want to make a decision which product is the best in the market. As the managers, we are supposed to know that yes, this is the best product that we want. We are going to produce more because we have seen that as we have done it, people are buying more than this one. So there are 2 or more products which we can be seeing in connection of the resources, allocation, as well as minimizing and maximizing of profit, also minimizing costs that is there. In fact, when we talk about accounting, mostly we always think about the cost minimization, isn't it? Yes, because what we want is profit. Nobody can be doing business or any organization when it's not making profit, it can't continue. It's going to cease. So always we as the managers are supposed to think about the maximization of profit and the minimization of costs. So these are some of the things that are in connection of linear programming. So we talked about blending. Blending involves the determination of the best blend of available ingredients to form a certain quantity of a product under a strict specifications. The best blend means the least cost mixture of the required inputs. Okay, what are we saying? They are telling us that we should think about mixing of some ingredients that maybe will make us make more profit. Maybe I can just think about an example on that to say we are making maybe chambiko, or what is it? Yogurt, is it? Yogurt. Then you think about, let's say, mixing with the maybe other spices or other things that can make it taste well. We have ever seen that yogurt, we have so many tastes when we buy. So this is just an example of when we think about the blending. So we can think about the blending problem to say, what can be the problem that can be there when we mix this and that? So always we have to have a quantity that we should have in mind and specifications that should be attached in connection of blending. So formulation of linear programming model, we want to understand the 3 components of formulating a model about LP. We should have a decision variable. What is a variable? What is a variable? You have learned in your research, isn't it? You should. Variable.
Like something that is able to change.
Able to change. Good. So we have one decision variable. We are learning about decision techniques. Therefore, we should have a variable that we are expecting it to be done. And that variable, as you have already said, is prone to change. Either you can make profit or you cannot, basing on what is found.
Sorry,
Yes.
These variables are under the blending.
These variables are under the formulation of a linear programming model. If you want to form a model, LP model, okay? If you want to form a linear programming model, when you want to achieve what you want when you are talking about linear programming. So this is a model that you want to do. So you have to have three components. The first component is the decision variable, the environment parameters, because we cannot think about the, let's say, something to do in making profit without the environment. The parameters. The result variable or dependence. Dependence. The result or dependent variable. Always, we have already said that when we are talking about linear programming, we have to formulate problems or concentrates. As we talked about the throughput, is it? Throughput, we talked about concentrates again. So we are saying we have these three where we want to make profit out of them. So this is how we should think about first the decision variable, and then we have the parameters where we are going to be involved in what we want to do. Again, we're supposed to think or have a dependent variable or result variable that we want to have. So in linear programming, those are some of the three things that you are thinking about when you want to form the linear programming model. You as management accountants, you have to have those three. What is the environment where maybe we want to go and sell our products, or what we want to do? So what is the environment? You can think of any. In fact, why are we learning this? We're learning for us to know how to make a decision when we're talking about techniques. So this is one of the techniques that can be used by yourself when we're talking about linear programming. That is the model. And then we have the components of the linear programming problem. Components of LP problem. Now, we're saying that we are going to form the problem ourselves, that what can be there? You imagine to say, we want to make, let's say, what can we make? Think about any product. Soap, okay? We want to make soap. And we know that there is already soap out there. So what can we do for us to go and win the market. Maybe we're going to think about, let's say, adding a certain ingredient that is going to beat what our friends have already had in the market. So those are some of the things that we think to say we have already a problem that other people are selling the same soap that we are going to sell. So what should we do to beat them? Because that's already a problem if we think about that. So what are the components of that in connection of a problem? We have one, components of the LP, components of the LP. We have one, decision variable. That same one, decision variable. B, this is when we want to form a problem yourself, that what am I going to do in order to defeat that? Objective function. Objective function. C, on components of LP when you want to form a problem. The concentrates or a problem. So those are some of the things that we have to think about. It means now when you are talking about the components of making a problem, it means you think about the same decision variable that you are thinking about to say, what do we want? Do we want to maximize profit on making soap? Okay, yes. What is the objective of the function? We want to make more profit up to this much, okay, for 3 months. Then what can be the problems that we can face? So you stipulate all the problems that you can think of facing during the 3 months period that you have done. And then you know already that linear programming is there to maximize profit, also to minimize costs. So we also have to think about the profit when we're talking about decision making. There's no way we can talk about these others without thinking about the profits. You think about, let's say, an amount that you want to make for, let's say, a specified time, and then you are supposed to maybe show what can be the solutions on what objective you want to achieve. Maybe you want to increase something or you want to decrease something. So these are some of the things that you are supposed to think when we're talking about profit. How about concentrates or problems that are there? You can think of minimizing a certain thing that maybe you are thinking is a problem or is a concentrate. To say, no, I think what we can do is we have too much maybe stuff making the soap. What if we minimize? That's another problem that we cannot, because we're going to be paying so many people. We should minimize the number of people that are in the factory of soap. These are some of the things that you look into as a manager to say, what next should we do if we want to reduce or to either maximize profit. So these are some of the things that when we're talking about linear programming, we should always think about them. We have the steps that we want to do, to maybe to have when we're talking about linear programming. We identify the decision variable that we have already said. We first identified. Then write the objective function of your problem that you want to do, basing on the technique, and then formulate the techniques, the problems that can be there, as we have already said. Then you allocate the resources basing on each of whatever you want to do. So linear programming is something that we should be using, but it will depend on what you want to do. Maybe you want to make a decision on, let's say, several products or a product mix, or you want to find out of maybe how should you blend the ingredients for you to maximize the profit. Always we have to think about more than two products when we are thinking about linear programming. So the book, I was finding out the information gave us maybe a simple understanding about how you can do your linear programming for you to make profit. So we have a schedule that makes us maybe understand more about linear programming in connection of decision making. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. One, two, three, 5. Then we have time. Time per unit, time. Then we have time. Then we have this is per unit, and then minutes per unit, then minutes. Then we have machines that are concerned. Machine 1, we have product 1, product 2, and 3. Machine 1, we have machine 1, then we have product 1, product 2, and product 3. Okay. Then in the last column we have machine capacity minutes per day. Machine capacity minutes per day. Then in machine 1, we have M1, we have M1, 2, 3, M1, 2, and 3. Then we have 2, 4, 2. Then the product number 2 is the 3-5. Product number 3, we have 2, 3-. Then we have capacity, that's 440, 470, and 430. This is just a simple, let's say, understanding on how linear programming works. To say, we have machines, we have products, and then we have the capacity of the machine. They're telling us that according to what I've written there, they're saying that if we're talking about machine 1, for product 1 that we're having, that we're going to produce, we have time 2, per unit 3, number of minutes 2, and then total number of capacity, that's minutes per day, is 440. That's what they are telling us. For us to understand that when we're talking about linear programming, you can't think about one product only. We always think about more than one product. And we're talking of, let's say, a big company, where we are talking about machines, several machines that are making, let's say, for example, as Augustus says that we're making soap. We have ever seen that soap is not maybe one type. You can have so many types of soap. Okay, we have Lifebuoy, whatever. I mentioned the number of soaps that we have, or else we can have several machines working on different types of products that we are having. For us to make a decision in management accounting, we're supposed to compare all those. And look at this second machine we are having. Instead of this on the first product, it's time 4 minutes. And then per unit, nothing. We don't have anything. But how about the third product? It's 3. So the total capacity per day for that machine 2 is 470. So this is just for us to understand, to say, these are saying the records that we can have when we want to make linear programming, where we're going to compare about 3 products on different machines altogether. Any questions about linear programming? Linear programming.
I wanted to understand what the nature of programming.
Or the nature of programming. What is nature in the first instance?
Like how it is.
Yes.
So I only grasped the first one. You talked about product mix, right?
No.
Product mix and blending the same thing.
We are talking about components being these. Decision